Hello and welcome to my podcast. Do me a favor, subscribe to the John Keim Report wherever you get your podcast. You're watching on YouTube. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You can find us there as part of Ampire Media, Ampire. Always much appreciated when you tune in. And don't forget, you can read my work on ESPN.com. We have a story, we have camp nuggets every day. So from myself and from everybody, I'm part of the NFL Nation team. Go to ESPN.com for some one-stop shopping to find out what's going on around the NFL. And if you want to become a club member of the show, go to the Ampire Media YouTube page, click the word join, go from there. I did a private Zoom on Friday for a few folks, kind of messed it up myself with the link. There were some snafus, but I appreciate the patience, those who stuck around. Hopefully you enjoyed it, learned a few things, and we're going to keep doing those. I'm going to do another one later this week, so stay tuned for that. Would like to do that every week and also I'm going to try and bring on some guests whenever I can, so that way you can hear from more than just little old me. Anyway, today, Monday, July 29th, not only is it my brother Neil's birthday, it's the first day of Washington being in pads. So that's always a good day to celebrate as well. Now, it's a little bit different than it was back in the day where being in pads meant certainly a lot more hitting and popping, taking guys to the ground, etc. That's all changed over the years. You can still get the pops. You get a lot more physical play. It's just different. And what you do get is, again, more aggressiveness from the O-line and the D-line. That's where you're going to see a bigger change. And then you also see sometimes some collisions. Noah Benegeni had a nice little pop on running back Chris Rodriguez at the end of a screen catch and run by Rodriguez along the sidelines. Just a good, healthy pop, nothing to the ground, etc. But it does help these coaches start to see a little bit more from the O-line, D-line. You can be more aggressive, more physical. It gets them a lot more ready. So they start to get a better picture of what they have up front on both sides of the ball. And, like I said, there were a couple of their pops up the middle. It's a difference. And it allows them to work on the run game more. During the spring, Dan Quinn, as he pointed out, that's usually a time where they're going to work a lot on the passing game because that's what you're able to set up. I mean, there's a lot more 7-on-7, and you're not able to really do anything with a pass rush and pass blocking. So it changes what you're going to work on. Now, last year, that mindset carried into the summer. You didn't see a whole lot of running the ball during the summer. You're seeing a lot more here now, even during the first several days before pads. But today, then you saw a few more runs for sure. But it gives these guys a chance to work on more things than just getting their timing down. Brandon Coleman opened up as the first left tackle today, and they've been going back and forth with Cornelius Lucas. They started off with a 2-point competition drill. He was the first left tackle in there. Jayden Daniels was the first quarterback. How about that? He and Mariota continue to switch off depending on the drill. But Coleman, I like Coleman. I think I'm really curious to see what he develops into. Just based on the early returns, the kid can play in this league. He's going to be able to play. It's just to what level and when does he get there? And then again, and to what position? Because I'm watching him. I've seen him at left tackle. I've seen him at right tackle. I think he's done a nice job. I think he has good footwork, and I like the length. One of the things that Dan Quinn said he has learned about him throughout the first week of practice is that he has really good balance. And you see that the base is really good. So, and the weight in his body, and not just the weight when he drops back, is evenly distributed. So that allows you to stay balanced and play that way. And what you see is sometimes when a guy might get him a little bit, he's able to anchor because of that balance. And I've seen that as well. Now today, what you want to see is how does he look against NFL-type pass rushers? So he's going against now some stars with Frankie Louvu sometimes as a linebacker rushing, or sometimes Cleveland Farrell, Dorrance Armstrong, whoever. I've seen him against Dante Fowler. He does not look overmatched. Now, he's going to face much better pass rushers, especially in this division. So you've got to be ready. The Giants have a couple guys, obviously Micah Parsons, the Eagles have their guys. So it's going to be something that he's going to have to show he can do before they're really ready. But I think like I said, it looks like he can play. It's just a matter of when. Now, today, watching against Farrell, there was one run. I think it was a run where he was able to engage with them, and then it kind of Farrell trying to get around. It was definitely a pass. He tried to get around him, and he gets him to the ground and just power down to the ground. And there was another time where he stayed attached to Farrell. Even, that's from good footwork, good hand placement, but he's staying attached to him as he's rushing around the left side. And I think he finishes runs well. I think he's going to be, I like what I've seen so far of him. Again, I just don't know. He's a guy that with the joint practices, you're really going to learn a lot from. And, so we'll see. And I like that he finishes blocks. The next group of tackles, Trent Scott. By the way, Andrew Wiley was back out there at right tackle today. I know yesterday he was not working in the team portion, so you wondered what's going on. He said he had tightness. He did not specify where, but he was out there today completing most of the drills. There were a couple of times I saw him that he wasn't with the starting group, but he was out there for the first few. And, but I will say, it's not like he played great last year. And so therefore, should it just be his? No, it shouldn't. Because what if Cornelius Lucas looks like he can be a quality left tackle for them this year, and that Coleman can be a really good right tackle? Well, what do? I mean, you go with your best lineup. So if that's what it is, that's what it is. But I'm going to be more curious to see how Coleman develops as a left tackle. And then also the other thing is too, this is something I want to watch more. How do they do in the screen game? Because if this is going to be a key part of this offense, and I think it will be at times, then I think you got to see how these guys move in space. And I think Coleman has a little bit would have an edge there over a guy like Scott and Lucas. And today there was one time where, screen to Brian Robinson to the right side. Lucas got to get out in space. Jeremy Chin just races right by him. Now, Chin reads the play well, so that was a good job by Chin. So I don't want to just put the blame on Lucas, but it's just something when you see that, you say, okay, watch how this develops. How will he do in that area in this offense to see, is that an issue or not? Is that a deciding factor or not, or a factor or not? So I think that'll be for sure something I want to pay attention to. Meanwhile, Jayden Daniels continues to work almost exclusively at guard. Someone said they saw him at tackle once or twice. I haven't seen that. I've seen him at guard, but that's not to say he hasn't. But he's going to make this team as a guard. He's not going to play tackle for them. Now, if you play guard, you better be able to show you can play a tackle in a pinch. He did not show that last year. I think it's smart to move him inside, see what he can do there. If he hits him there, you have an athletic guard. He was not showing a whole lot at tackle. He did not show a lot of tackle, to be honest, in his college tape. I felt like there was just a lot to clean up. So maybe clean it up inside and you get a guy that could maybe fit better there inside and give you an athletic guard down the road if he hits. But that's where he's been working. Again, I think some of it was technique and all that, but he's a guy to develop. I don't know that I would trust it more inside than I would outside at this point. We'll see. Now, there was one time, a couple times where it's like it felt like did a decent job against John Ridgeway. Nice job against him, kind of cute staying in front of him. Another time, though, I've seen Jamin Davis have some pass rush success at times. Typically, it's been against Daniels. So in the spring, there's one time where Daniels was at tackle and Davis was able to get around him. And then today, I think it was in the 2-point competition, where Davis rushed him, was able to drive him back. And that's when he was as a right guard. So he was able to drive him back. And that's something that Dan's going to have to show. Can you anchor in those situations? And then it becomes, are you worth developing? In what capacity? Is that on the practice squad? Is that on the roster? What? So anyways, those are all things to watch for with him as we move forward. Meanwhile, one of the two guys who talked to us today after the practice was Zach Ertz and Bobby Wagner, the veterans, right? So, there's going to be some focus more on them, of course, because they're talking. And I did ask Dan Quinn about both guys because they're older. We know that. So we know they're not the same player they were 5, 6, 7 years ago. But there are things that they've learned. So how does that make them maybe better now? Or what things can they do better now than maybe they could a few years ago? Quinn pointed out how effective Ertz is in the red zone. Ertz feels like that's kind of always been the case. But but the one thing Ertz said is like there's not a coverage he hasn't seen. So he knows how to play certain leverages. He knows how to adjust right away. I think that gives him an edge, certainly in any area. But the other thing that helps him too is how to adjust to the quarterback. Because one of the things, after every play, he seems to be going up to Jayden Daniels whenever they're in there. So I think that, but there was a nice throw by Driscoll as well. He is not moving ahead of Marion. The other thing that I watched, I'm going to put up a little video here with this, but it's watching the defensive backs and and I want to talk to them more about this, about what you see couldn't get to it today. I want to get to it at some point, but just some of the drills they're doing and the difference and the details. Because I talked to Emmanuel Forbes and he talked about the details. Jeremy Reeves talked about the details being a lot greater, the way just the stance, back pedal. Well, in this particular drill, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see it. But in this particular drill, you watch where the eyes and the head is at, and it's trying to train it in a certain area, so you're less apt to be fooled by what the receiver is trying to throw at you, whether it's a head movement, eyes, whatever. But if you're focused, watch their eyes, it looks like they're more focused on the pads. The pads and the hips aren't going to lock, right? The other parts can lock. And so it allows them to kind of mirror that movement a little bit better. That's one of the things they've been working on quite a bit. But it's just, not that they haven't done stuff like, certain things before, but it does seem like some of the minute details are a little bit better. And that also goes back to, it's funny because I don't know if this is the word, but intentionality of practice. When you're around Quinn, we're watching this, today they only went for 70 minutes. So in part of his first day in pads, it's whatever, they like to ramp up. But if you get your work in, you get your work in. But it seems like they're a little bit more intentional about what they're working on and why. And I think that last year you talked to some people and it's like with the offense, for example, was, why are you doing this? Well, because this is how it was done in Kansas City. And that did not go over well, but so some of it was more geared toward what somebody had in the past versus what do you have in front of you right now. And I think there's a little bit more of that going on. It seems, I don't know if I'm making too much of that or just misreading it, but that's kind of how it comes across. The defensive line, Fedarian Mathis was working with the twos, and against Allegretti, there was one time where Allegretti, I think he'll be fine. But I think he gets Mathis, moves him back a few yards. Another time I liked how Mathis split a double team. Now I didn't watch him a whole lot, so it's not like I watched him every down to say, oh yeah, this great day. Or bad day. I don't know that. I know those two plays. That's what I know. But I also know he was working with the twos, and that was a little bit of a change. So we'll see what he does. Sam Hartman had the pass of the day. It was rolling to the right, little ball to Jamison Crowder along the sidelines. Nice job. He chased out of the pocket to the right. Good ball to the sideline. So nice job by Hartman. One of the few reps the guy gets. Need to see Jahan Dotson start doing some more during some of the full team work. There was one portion during some of the early drills where it's just quarterbacks and receivers and tight ends, where it's like he seemed to be a little bit confused with some of the routes he had to run or what he was supposed to do. So that, we'll see. But we've seen some days where you see it, you see what he does, and it's still there. His hands need to improve, get a little bit more consistent, but you can see the talent and the run after the catch. They need to get more of that this year from him before just to see what can he do. Did see Jayden Daniels. We're using some speed around the corner a couple times. We know he's got that, but it's fun to watch that. And when he starts running around back there, it's going to be a havoc for chaos for some defenses. Jamin Davis is with the third team working as a defensive end. That's where he's been. They're giving him time. This is going to be a key period for him. Are you improving his pass rush? He's going to have to show it against starters, because if you're not, then it's hard to put him in the game in that particular role. But that's what he's going to have to do if they want him to develop in that role. The other thing too that Ertz talked about too was with Cliff Kingsbury. He was with him 2 years ago in Arizona, and said that one of the things he's noticed here is he's rejuvenated. He feels like Kingsbury has been rejuvenated being here and maybe taking that year off going to USC. One of the things that's funny, because I know there was a word like, oh my gosh, well, if this offense hits, Kingsbury's going to be out of here and they're going to have to learn a new system. All that could be true. First of all, I don't know that this offense is going to hit to that level in year one. There's so much change, so many new faces. It's really hard to get that level of cohesion in year one. Can you show signs of that? Of course. Can you have good games? Of course. But can you have that consistency where it's like the guy's gone at year one year? Kind of hard to get there. Not impossible, but the other thing is there are people who know him pretty well. Like, guy kind of likes what he's doing here. And I think sometimes guys just like being a coach, and this allows him to be a coach and not deal with the headaches that he dealt with in Arizona, and there were quite a few. He's also the kind of guy who likes to get in at 4 a.m., 5 a.m., watch film, shut the door in his office and watch film, and not necessarily have to come out and be the face of everything that you have to be when you're a head coach. So the point is, even if the offense hits, this guy could be here for several years in this role. I don't know that for sure. We never know what happens. But would that shock me? No. The other guy I want to talk about, a couple other guys, I think safety is going to be an intriguing spot. Because I think, how many guys can you keep? And you have the starters of Martin and Chin, Percy Butler working as a third safety, Derek Forrest, where does he fit in? Jeremy Reeves, Dominique Hampton. And then you got Tyler Owens, who has looked good early. Now, to the point where he can earn a roster spot, can't say that yet. But he certainly has the size, and he has made some plays that stand out. Now, today, there was a play where Kaz Allen, a ball over the middle, bounces, tried to chest catch it, kind of bounces a little bit, and Owens is like right there, and the coach, he doesn't get it. Allen secures it, but one of the defensive backs coaches is like, catch, you got to take the effing ball away. So but I don't know that's going to be a problem for Owens, but that is something. But I will say, the kid shows up, and I think he's going to show up in special teams as well. The other thing is with kick returners, what's going to happen there? You have Austin Eckler, I think, is going to be a guy to watch there for sure. I think some of these, the way it looks, it's going to turn into like a running back situation where how you set up a blocks, et cetera, and your vision on that, that's where he serves well. I think Mike Samuelstow is going to, I could see him being a factor there as well. He played receiver. He's got those moves in the open field, but he has a toughness of a defensive back as well. And he does everything fast. Now, today in the kick return, watching it, there was one time where Eckler, little move, not a whole lot. Next time, quick cut back to the middle, would have had big yards. Noah Igbenegeni had one return that was really good. They also worked today on fielding the ground balls, basically, because you don't know how, not every team's going to just kick it in the air and you go. There's going to be a lot of ground balls trying to, maybe cause a muff, whatever. So that's something you have to be adept at as well. And by the way, going back to safety, I think one of the things with Percy Butler and Derek Forrest, Percy Butler has a speed and he's got special teams ability. I don't know that I don't know where the whole competition stands. And Butler's a guy that can play more deep middle. So but I'm just curious to see where that unfolds. Special teams, though, will be a big thing, I think, especially for Butler, even though he didn't, did he progress enough last year? And it's kind of gone anyways because it's a different system. Does he progress in this system? How does he progress throughout the summer? That's going to be a key to watch. Anyways, that's enough from me, folks. Appreciate you tuning in. That's a daily training camp report. I'll be back on Tuesday with another one, wrapping up the Tuesday practice. So I'll talk to you next time.